Good morning. It is Tuesday the 13th, I think, February. So I haven't done a progress update in a few days, so I need to get one on here. Because if I don't keep updating, then I won't hold myself accountable. So this past weekend, I traveled to visit my family in East Tennessee, and my mom's sick, so I like to go visit with her. I didn't take my toddler this time because it's hard to visit with her when he's running around. So I left him here with my husband, and I went to visit them. So I got to spend some time with my mom, but I also got to take advantage of thrifting because in rural areas, I think that people think they just can't sell on eBay. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to sell. And it is hard. I mean, there aren't as many thrift stores. There definitely aren't as many high-end items as far as clothes go. But what you can find are vintage items, like hard goods for sure, but also vintage clothes, because this is a very generalized statement, but it's like this, at least in East Tennessee, where the clothes that you see people talk about as like hype, like vintage Tommy or old John Deere hats or trucker hats, stuff from the 90s, like the high-waisted pants and things like that. A lot of people in rural areas are still wearing those things. It's not like they are wearing it for fashion. They're just still wearing it since it was in style. And a lot of older people have stuff like that. Like, they take good care of their things, but there's a lot of old hats and stuff like that. So anyway, I went and got quite a few vintage items. I'll try to do some kind of video for that. I just don't have time to do like a haul video. But I'd really like to, because I think it's fun to share all that information. Plus, it's a good learning tool. I know people complain that you really don't learn anything from haul videos. You can only learn things from what's sold. But I think it's valuable to learn about what you buy. Partially because you can see the process of, a lot of times you might buy stuff and you think it's going to be great, and it could take a year for that thing to sell, or it could be a bad purchase or whatever. Like, hearing why somebody bought something can really help you learn what to do when you're in the thrift store or a garage sale or something. So that was good. I have some items to get processed. My photographer is working out really well. She's been taking pictures of clothes. I think I have like 65 things in queue to be listed. My lister was not working so well, but that was because apparently there was some kind of communication issue. And, I just started talking with her about potentially doing this. And then I went out of town, but I talked to her on Wednesday, and then she asked me a question on Thursday about it, and I replied with some clarification. I made a video, because she doesn't really she lives about 40 minutes away from me, and so, and she's somebody that's trusted by a family member. So what I did was, I didn't really know how to really go and, teach how to list. So I just made a YouTube video that was basically screenshotting doing a screenshot of what I was doing and me talking over it. I used a product called Bandicam, or Bandicam, Bandicam. And what it does is it lets you do a screenshot up to 15 minutes for free. And then you can also record your voice. So I just did that to kind of explain, this is how I would list things, or this is where your folder is going to be with all the pictures, that kind of thing. Figuring out the logistics of that is part of the training for both of us. I've never had anybody do this before. So figuring that out is going to take time, but once we get it, I think it'll be really good. The biggest thing I learned recently, I just realized this, I guess on the 5-hour drive to East Tennessee, I realized that a mistake I was making is, I was thinking to myself that if I had a lister, then a photographer, that person would take all my pictures. If I had a lister, that person would do all my listings. So therefore, the time that I do have to put into eBay, I could just be sourcing, because that's what I'm good at. That's what I like to do anyway. It's what we all like to do. And then I would just ship and then organize the inventory and then prep the items. So it's still quite a bit of stuff, right? I'm good at buying the items, but I'm not so great at listing them. I'm super slow. But anyway. And so what I was doing though is I was like, oh, I have a lister. I'm not going to list anything. And that's a huge mistake, obviously. She's going to be learning. She has a training period, etc. She's not going to be that fast at first. Because I was thinking about, for my blog, I was thinking about writing a post. I was listening to the Femtrepreneur podcast it's like an episode back in the fall. And they were talking about how the top 10 blog posts you should have on your blog. And one of them is something that you think is controversial in the field that you're in your niche, and how you feel differently. And for me, I was like, well, what would that be? Well, for me, that would be having a lister and a photographer this early in the game. Because a lot of people in the eBay world, do not ever condone having a lister or photographer or help at all. Or they don't condone it or suggest it until you're really far along. And I just think that for me, that business model makes sense to have those two people helping for right now. So I'm trying that out. And I thought to myself, well, what proof do I have that it's actually working? And I realized that my photographer is working. I have all these pictures coming through. What's not working is the listing, and I'm not seeing any results from the photographer, really, because I've not been listing. So obviously, if I was listing as fast as she was taking pictures, then I would start to see the results. So that's when I realized I made that mistake. So basically, I went back in, I readjusted the folders on Google Drive for the lister, and I've only put in like things that are like warm weather, or things that I don't care if they get up super fast. Like, I want them to get up there, but it's like she has 10 things or something to work on. Or maybe she has like 30 things. I think it's 30 things that are like, short sleeve shirts or shorts or whatever. Now, that stuff's going to be coming up soon, but it's not as urgent as some of the other things that I have to go up, like coats, ski pants, that kind of thing. So basically, I just divided it up. So then I worked on listings last night. On Sundays, I'm typically going to be doing eBay. My husband's going to give me that time. It also helps because if I'm not at home, then I'm not trying to have giant conversations with him. He really likes to just have a day where he just sits and does nothing. So he's going to watch our son. They're going to watch cartoons, whatever, and just hang out while I go sourcing or go downstairs and work on eBay in our basement. So, but we had to swap it out a little bit this week because I was traveling. So yesterday, on Monday, I did it a little bit. I worked on eBay last night. I worked on it for about 4 hours, and I went through and sorted through all the listings, prepared all the listings for the lister to get ready, prepared the listings for myself, meaning I had to categorize the items. So my photographer is just taking pictures just back to back to back. And instead of slowing her down with having her put each one into folders, I just told her to upload all of those. And then I quickly go through and put them into folders. And then I separated out which items I wanted my lister to list, and then the ones I wanted myself to work on. So I have about 40 and she has about 30 to work on. And then I got like 5 done after that. So that took quite a while to get all that stuff done. But I did get 5 items listed. I relisted items, and then I created drafts for some. I don't remember how many drafts I did. But basically, and then I went through and did some stuff in my store, like looked at prices, looked at titles, things like that. Because that stuff is important, and then made sure I had a sale. So that's another thing that I've noticed, is that when I have a sale going on in my store, I sell more things than if I don't. So that definitely helps. And then any items that I can do promoted listings on, I try to only do promoted listings if I have multiple quantity of something, or if it's a high dollar item, because I want to get it out of there. So yeah, I went through and picked some of those. So anyway, just still chugging along, working on eBay. I'm gonna go into work here in a minute, but I just wanted to do an update. I think this is like number 6 or something. I've got to figure this out because I have 3 months, well, 3.5 months to get to the point where I have enough to match my income. Well, enough to meet where if I adjusted everything, like not working, what would I need to bring? And it's about $4,000 net, which means that I need to sell like $6,000 to $7,000. And right now I'm only selling like $1,500 gross. So I really need to ramp this up and get it to where I can sell more. And the biggest goal right now too is trying to get inventory that's cheap so that I can make hopefully more profit and be able not have as much money tied up in it, because I really need to get a savings that's bigger than it currently is to be able to be that cushion. Because the first month of going eBay full time, that's the challenge, is getting your routine set up and getting everything organized. For me, it's going to be figuring out how much time I'm going to spend on eBay and figuring out when exactly during the day, instead of just being like, I know at first I'm going to have like, not culture shock, but kind of like time shock. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go anywhere or do anything for anybody. But that needs to wear off fast, because I need to put my own, now I'm the boss, right? So it's going to need to be that I decide, from 8 to 12, I take my son to the babysitter and I'm going to work on eBay during this time. I'm going to go to Starbucks or something. I need to give myself slots of time instead of just randomly working on eBay whenever I feel like it, because then you're going to turn around and the day is going to be gone. For me anyway. I just can't do that. So, anyway, sort of in panic mode because it's happening soon. So I got to get a savings built up, try to get my store built up, and then, just get this all working. I'm excited this week. There is an eBay meetup here in Nashville. They didn't have any. I was going to start a meetup group because I just wanted to meet up with other people, and I wanted to just have those people to talk to, especially moms, people who are, or anybody really, who's working and trying to do eBay full time, trying to make that transition. And then moms, I'd like to connect with them, just figuring out, how do you balance everything? How do you, when you have little kids, where do you find the time for that kind of stuff? And maybe we could encourage each other. So I was getting ready to start a meetup group. I checked back in the fall, there wasn't a meetup group. I said, okay, after the new year, I'm going to start one of my own. I log back in and see there's actually a meetup group, and it's not specific for moms or anything. So I think I still might start one. So if anybody wants to help me with that or would like to come, I'd love to meet other people who are doing eBay, in the Middle Tennessee area. But, this meetup group is on Thursday night and it's hosted by WorthPoint. So, I'm not sure if it's going to end up being a real meetup or if it's going to be a, hey, look at our product and you have these items that you've found, now you want to know what they're worth, by WorthPoint. I hope not. I'm sure they'll promote that some, but I just hope that's not all it is. I hope it really is a meetup group, so that we meet on Thursday, they're having a thing on Friday, and then on Saturday you come back and you like share the treasure you found. So I'm going to go to the Thursday night meet and greet. I'm going to go to the Saturday treasure sharing thing. Friday I have to work, so I can't go to their thrifting adventure. But I think that'll be a lot of fun. There's a couple of people that I've interacted with that are coming. So, I'm excited for that. So yeah. All right. Well, have a good week and let's get eBay done.